You're listening to Errol Parker and Clancy Overall, editors of the Betoota Advocate, on Desert Rock FM. Welcome back to the Betoota Advocate radio show, recording live in the Old City District, downtown Betoota. You're joined by myself, Clancy Overall, editor of the Betoota Advocate, and of course, Errol Parker, editor-at-large. How are you, Errol?
Good to be back out west, and it's good to have a guest from down south up here too that's not going to scare the living daylights out of the locals here.
Well, he's not from that far south. He's a Sydney lad, musician, singer, songwriter, cultural critic.
Well, the people from New South Wales have only been allowed up here in Queensland for a few days.
Yeah, I know, so we're lucky to get him, but he and his band are about to go on tour. We're talking with Johnny Talk from the DMA. Thank you for joining us, Johnny.
Clancy, Errol, it's good to be in Queensland.
It's good to have you up here, mate.
Now, you are about to embark on what many people thought wasn't possible, providing Victorians do what they're told and stay down south. I guess New South Wales can get hold of this, what looks to be a new cluster of coronavirus cases. You are about to go on a tour in the backdrop of no live music around Australia.
Who would have thought? We're probably one of the first bands to start touring again, obviously since the virus has happened. So who knows, like you said, there's clusters popping up, so who knows if they're going to go ahead, but we're going to do our best.
So tell us a little bit about how this happens. They've been described as intimate shows. So, I mean, you've done Splendour in the Grass before. You've done football stadiums in overseas. You've done all kinds of stuff. It's not going to be like that. It's going to be...
Well, yeah, as you said, the word intimate, it's not going to be as intimate as in a sweaty mosh pit. But it's going to be intimate as in smaller amount of people in the room. Because we're obviously, we're following the guidelines and the appropriate COVID rules.
So it's one per 4 square.
Yep, so it's basically a private function, thereabouts, in the eyes of the law.
Yeah, but...
we could fit a few more people in it, I think, if we called it a religious experience.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, you could. You should just play a bit of... Get that face-melting Hillsong solo on guitar.
Maybe
Johnny.
the opener.
Switchfoot.
Well, how big do you reckon, like, the largest indoor venue is in this country? What that would be, that big arena in Sydney, or the Hordern, or...
Yeah, what's the big...
Or that one...
Outside of stadiums.
In Melbourne.
Oh, okay.
No, that's got the roof on it, because it has to be, like...
There's a Superdome.
Yeah.
But that's not the biggest.
So, say, roughly what's that? That'd be 4,000 square metres. You could fit 1,000 people in there not touching each other.
Yeah.
So the factories, I think... Even because it can have the curtain, so it can be at different sizes.
This in Sydney, you're going to do... Yeah, how are you going to do it? You're going to do one, obviously, people space out a little bit. What's the top number you can get in there? 150?
So 150, yeah. And I think the normal capacity is maybe 800.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a sixth, I think.
Yeah. And no standing at the bar.
No. Table service?
No dancing. Definitely no dancing.
I'll tell you what.
You just sit there and listen to us.
I went down to Engonia to have a beer down there on the weekend. It was my first beer in New South Wales in, 6 weeks. And you weren't allowed to have a drink at the bar. And if you've ever been to that pub at Engonia, there's not that much room to sit down, so they had us all out the front on milk crates. So I hope it's not that intimate. But
No.
How many nights are you doing? That's...
Okay, so we started with 6 shows, which was 3 nights and 2 shows a night, but now it's ridiculously gone up to 18. Which is like comical. It's getting a bit silly.
That's a tour though. You're working.
Yeah. Except it's kind of good because you can just stay set up for 6 shows in a row.
So usually you guys would do Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, maybe Perth, Adelaide, and maybe 1 or 2 shows in the big capitals like Melbourne or Sydney. That's just 1 show per city. Now you're actually getting those same numbers.
Well, we worked it out.
Yeah.
I think the 18 shows is 2,700 tickets, which is pretty much an M more, a bit bigger than an M more. Except you got to do it 18 times, not once, which is it's fine for me when I'm just strumming a few chords, but when you're the singer, you're Tommy, bit of a rough gig, I reckon.
Yeah. And so can you tell us a little bit about life on the road pre-corona? How do you guys go on tour?
We go pretty good. So we're a 6-piece live. The 3 guys, Liam Hoskins, Tom Crandalls, and Joel Flyger, they're all mates of ours. So it's not like we just called up some random session guys and blah blah blah. So we're all still we're all friends and like that, and all our crew are amazing. And the first few years were pretty insane, not having a lot of money. We realised we were travelling around Europe and UK pretty illegally for the first couple of years because there's the amount of weight that you're meant to have in the splitter or sprinter van or whatever they're called. If you have gear and people in there, it well exceeds the limit
for the barge.
Yeah. And also, actually, in Europe, if you're say you're on the autobahn and you want to do a piss, apparently there's a rule where you have to put on a high vis vest.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That wasn't happening on the early tours.
That wasn't happening
and hop
either.
out and have a piss on the side of the autobahn.
Yeah. No high vis. Yeah,
you guys are doing it in the dark, drunk.
Yeah. pretty much. Yeah.
The Porsche going past.
Yeah. Freezing. Actually, Tommy went for a piss, I think, one time, like on something like the autobahn or something. He was pretty wasted, and he lost his phone.
All right.
And we get this call, someone contacts. I don't know how it even happened. It's ridiculous because and we got a call and some German person has found his phone.
They're very polite people.
Yeah, I know, but in the middle of nowhere on the side of the autobahn. And it's like, what? And he somehow got it back. I don't know.
You could lose your phone at a pub. No one would say a thing in Australia. Moving forward, this tour is promoting new album called The Glow. You've just released it this year. How long did this one take? Because you guys have obviously, as you say, you step it up now. You've got 6 on tour. You're a 6-piece on stage. You've got a lot. I mean, there's a lot more people involved in the process, I imagine, nowadays. Do you bring in any hired guns with some of your stuff nowadays?
Well, because the guys I mentioned before have been in the band for so long now, it was really important. Well, Tom's the bass player and the drummer Liam have played on every record. Joel played on the last one, but we wanted them to be all over this one, and we have become playing the amount of gigs we've played in that unit. It's become a really, a really tight force, but also such a big part of our livelihood and who we are and all that kind of stuff. So it was important that everyone played. So last record was the first time we kind of used a producer. It was Kim Moyes from the Presets. Yep. But we still kind of even recorded some of our own guitars. We had the recording studio above the Lady Hampshire. Yeah. So we recorded some stuff there. So this was the first time, I guess, everything we'd recorded was in a big studio, and whether that was with Scott Horscroft up at the Grove or with Stuart Price we went to Rack Studios in London and we went to Westlake Studios in LA. And Stuart's done like New Order, Madonna, The Killers, Pet Shop Boys, and for us moving into we were incorporating, we've always been a guitar-driven band, and so we were incorporating more sequences and synths and drum machines and stuff like that. And his electronic background was pretty amazing to collaborate with someone like that to kind of get this new sound, an album over the line and do it legitimately and make it sound shit hot, basically.
So is the process quicker than basically producing an album in your living room?
Well, yeah, because one of the reasons when we did the first album, we did lots of the vocals and the guitars in our apartment or in our own studio, is you can spend heaps of time on them and you can be super creative in that way, where when you're in the studio, it's like you're paying the money. Get the take, man.
Yeah. So you streamline it as much.
Yeah,
as you
but
can.
at the same time, that pressure's good.
Yeah,
I reckon that pressure's cool. Doing something creative under pressure, I reckon, is kind of cool. Weird stuff comes out in a good way.
I've heard that is the case with a lot of people in Hollywood who work on Clint Eastwood films that he's directing, because the obviously the studio will designate this amount of time, and people are going to get paid for that amount of time. For your big Hollywood films, they're used to real kind of perfectionist directors, but apparently Clint Eastwood's just a one-take guy. So it's like, got it, good, let's move.
Oh,
so
wow.
people are knocking off at midday on his sets. Like,
Yeah.
And they love it. They just, you fly to South Africa and film a film with Clint Eastwood, and you're basically on holidays because all he needs is that one take. He doesn't give a shit.
Well, if you're that person, and I guess like a director or is kind of like the producer in the music sense. I know it's not like the producer of a show is like it's different. Yeah, for example, we've got a song called "Hello Girlfriend" on the new album. I'm pretty sure Tommy did it in his second take.
Yeah, right.
And if you're that kind of producer, you've got the ear to go.
Yeah.
Yep, that's it. Let's move on. Time is precious.
Yeah.
Precious.
Yeah, because you always hear those big yarns about how a band has recorded like 40 takes of one song, and then the producer goes back and says the first one was the best.
100%. Or you could be like the Eagles and spend $1 million making Hotel California and spend a year on it or something and do a tremendous amount of coke. But you can't make records like that these days.
Do you find that, say, the Grove, there's that place that a lot of Australian recording artists go to, it's tucked away up in the hinterland, Central Coast. What's the vibe there? Because that some of the greatest albums have ever been recorded there. I guess it's just like a little experience. Every band that's been there has had to live in this town where... I remember hearing that they had one kind of Italian takeaway place. Every musician's eaten at that place in the Grove.
Yeah, I think it's called Hungry Wolves.
Yeah, right.
Which is funny, like the song.
Yeah.
Hungry like the wolves.
What is it like? That sounds a bit more tedious than being on the road with the band, staying in a place for a week, recording.
Well, actually, during lockdown, I was up there co-producing. So Scott, Horscroft, who produced Silver and Round and Around off this new record, I was just working with him on Hayley Mary's new album.
Yeah.
So that 3 weeks in lockdown, we were up at the Grove, and it's just so beautiful there, and it's like no better way to spend lockdown when no one's doing anything.
Yeah.
But that's kind of like I've worked. So, like, in the future, I want to be a producer. That's eventually, where I'm heading for. It's definitely different. I think I've tried to work out, like, I love being in the studio and recording and writing, and like I feel amazing in that element. But at the same time, it's like I think if I had like 20% touring and 80% in the studio, that would be ideal for me.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Because you need that. You need that. There's something like, especially now, during Corona, you realize how important that part of your life is. As much as you can whinge about the 200 hours of flights you've done each year from here in the UK and all that stuff, but it's a big part of our life, and it's a big part of all musicians' livlivelihood.
Yeah,
and especially these days when you don't make any money off
goddamn
record sales.
Goddamn Napster.
Yeah,
LimeWire. Have you found that you've come up with a song on stage in front of? Have you ever come up with anything on stage and later recorded it?
Yeah, we do it a bit in sound checks.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so I'm a massive Bruce Springsteen fan, and I just learnt Racing in the Street on guitar or whatever the week before.
Because you're not playing your songs in sound check.
Yeah. That's right.
You're doing a full blown cover shot.
Yeah, that's right. You try and get creative. They're like, give me a bit of guitar, and you're like, what have I got up my sleeve? Right? Yeah. Or then sometimes you hit the tritone conversation, and everyone's just playing tritones, which were banned back in the 1800s or something like that, like the devil's interval, which is probably the worst part of it. But anyway, there's that part. So I started playing, Racing the Street, and then Tommy just started singing a melody over, and that became Time and Money, which is a song off our last record.
Right.
And then another time, Mason, we were in Germany, I think, again. Mason, kind of like a little bit tongue-in-cheek, just started, Mason, can I get some, because he's got backing vocals as well. Can I get some guitar and vocals? And he's like, no matter how hard I try. And then started playing this cover of Cher's Believe. And then Tommy walked on stage and started singing the chorus. And we're like, wow, that actually sounds pretty good. If we have to do a cover, we should do that.
Right, is that how that came up?
Yeah, that's how that came up. Yeah.
Wow.
Was that the first one you took to Richard King's Mill?
No, we took seven tracks.
Yeah, because I've heard that you can't just go there and tell him what you want to do. You've got to be like, all right, we've got 8 to choose from, and he's just and he was like, that one.
Yeah, this one hits. This one hits the nostalgia button. This one's a little bit off-brand for us. You kind of got to find.
He was right that time because it's still going up like hundreds of thousands a week. That cover on YouTube. I mean, it's still going.
Well, yeah, that was a weird moment.
Yeah.
It's our biggest song.
Well, I think there's a lot of elements to it. I mean, this scrappy little kind of Adelaide-looking guys drinking. Not drinking, but you may as well have had a long neck in your hand, and then you were singing Sure, and Tommy's chewing gum.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, the visual and his voice like sounds amazing.
Yeah.
And like the visuals kind of, I think it's disturbing for some people. What's going on here?
It's like, it was just like, is this cursor? Like, what's going on?
But the gum's a thing.
Yeah. So he performs that way.
Yeah, I spoke about this in the interview the other day. Actually, it's I'm to Tommy's left when we're playing on stage, and just in front of the drum kit, he's got 2 cups, and one's like full of gum, unchewed pieces, and there's another one that's full of all the chewed pieces that he's gone through. Yeah. It's like halfway through, like having this amazing moment, like playing these beautiful songs, and I just turn around and kind of see this
cup of
like,
chewed gum.
I'm like, I don't know, something's not right about it. But it keeps your vocals lubricated.
Yeah, right. Personally, I'm hanging out for a Killing Heidi cover by the
that's a good one.
DMA's Weir. Wouldn't that be good?
That would be cool. Shout out to Ella.
Yeah, shout out to Kingsmill. Get it going, mate. Has, moments like that pivoted, your sound, I guess? Trying something different. How does this album compare to the last ones? I know that's a very cliche question, but have you gone down a different avenue with this as opposed to where you were at last time around? Yeah.
The cover thing with the Believe cover, that's just a freak of the internet kind of thing, like you don't think about too much. I was playing the wrong bloody chords 2 hours before, because we ran through it once, and then you play it once, and then all of a sudden it's on the internet, and it's out of your control.
To play it at Splendor, yeah,
exactly. But in terms of like this record, and I guess we've always loved production. It's been a big thing for us, and also we've DMAs are associated as a kind of throwback 90s kind of Britpop kind of thing, which is cool because I feel like 2014 when we came, people say music is timing in more ways than one, and there wasn't really many bands in Australia kind of doing that thing at the time. So I guess we kind of got lucky in that regard. But at the same time, as creatives, you got to keep moving. You got to keep trying something different. And I always bring this up. I think it's on the Paul Kelly documentary. He talks about growing up in the public eye, and it really like resonated with me when he said that. He's like, totally, it's fucking daunting, and it's like you're releasing these albums, you're learning, you're kind of winging it and just trying to get better at songwriting and production, and you buy your first synthesizer after just being guitar driven for so long, and and you're just trying to get your head around it, and then you release an album and it's just like. And then it's just there to be judged, which is cool, which is a great part of it, but it's scary.
And you guys were pretty young when you started too. I guess Mason said that last time. It's like he's always been big for just music, just we're musicians. Like we know,
and orchids.
Yeah, and obviously he loves his plants, his indoor plants.
He does. I think he's got an ice cream plant. He's rocking that.
He loves his bunnies, rabbitohs too. But the idea, he said, there's no cause at that age. You're not going to become. You look at someone like Missy Higgins or the guys from Friends of Rom who are able, later in their career to have a cause or have a charity, or and you don't want to just say anything outside of music when you are growing up in the public eye. I guess it's just you guys can follow my musical journey and find out what kind of bloke I am later.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I guess like with that kind of thing as well, as you get older, you start working and you have life experiences, especially I guess just in my own, just from traveling and the people you meet and like that, you're still learning what kind of person you are. And I don't think you ever stop learning.
Have you made many friends in the industry, or you kind of keep circles outside?
I'm pretty I don't mind a chat. I don't mind a yarn. I like going to festivals and meeting people. Like I've met the guys from there's an English band called The Coral. They're really lovely. We had this band Inhaler support us, who are this Irish band, who are really nice lads. Obviously, Liam Gallagher's had us on tour and came down to our show at the Brixton Academy. And I think those situations, they're always cool when they're not forced, you know. And obviously, like, actually, if you talk about the whole Australian industry, and everyone's actually really lovely. Yeah. Because if you're a fuckwit, you get found out really quickly, basically.
I suppose it's a very small industry in this country, isn't it?
Exactly, you know. And I've started doing songwriting sessions recently, and that's been really cool because I've just been able to meet heaps of artists, you know, that are kind of big, but you haven't necessarily listened to heaps of their stuff or really known them as a person, you know. And I've really been loving that actually recently.
Tell us a little bit about that pivot into producing. You worked a bit on Hayley Mary's album. Can you see yourself kind of, you know, transitioning into that Dr. Dre kind of, stand behind the panel?
Have your own headphone line.
Well, I released
just
them.
nodding.
Yeah.
Tunes by Took.
Tunes by Took. That's good. That's good. I like that. Well, yeah, that's what I want to do, and that's kind of why I got into the electronic music thing, and I guess that kind of steered this direction of DMAs is because, you know, I grew up on kind of like folky country stuff, but then obviously on the line with, like, you know, Dylan, Neil Young, and like Joni Mitchell and stuff like that, and then obviously and then in my high school years got more into the Britpop scene and, you know, Primal Screen, Oasis, Stone Roses, the Jesus and Mary chain, and then I went through this like weird, huge bluegrass thing where I became obsessed with bluegrass music. I learned the dobro and the Bill Monroe and Earl Scruggs and stuff like that. And then basically I kept changing, and then I realized I had no idea kind of how they were creating these, because there's no rules with electronic music. You can literally do anything, and a lot of it's to do with sampling just whack sounds that you're creating, which I didn't know at the time. I'm like, how do you do this? Like, how do you make something sound like that? And that's kind of where I started on that journey, because to be a producer, you know, I know if I wanted to do a rock album or a jangly kind of noisy record, I could, or even a country album, you know, but I wanted to learn that side of things, so in the future I can incorporate, you know.
Like a lot of people do talk about the Britpop thing with the DMAs. Obviously it's influenced and well received by those audiences and those crowds and those bands over there, but that's like the unsung kind of secret, is that two of you are the sons of Poms, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
So you're 10-pound Poms.
Tommy and I have British passports, so when we land, we go straight through.
Yeah, right.
And Mason's off the back.
Oh, Mason and Lee's our drummer.
With the tattoos, getting looked at.
When we're waiting for him for a few hours, he gets put in the naughty corner, we call it.
But I guess one of the benefits of Brexit for us is that we can use their line now, I think. You know, I think that we couldn't use the British line.
No, not traditionally.
Or the EU line. But but like a couple years ago, we were at the back of the at the back of the scrap line.
Now they're waving Canadians and Australians through in London.
Yeah.
But so do you think there's a bit of that? I mean, Tommy's old man's a Scouser, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he's played like he played for Everton.
Yeah, right.
Like back in the day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Real Brit.
Yeah, super. My old man came over when he was 11.
Yeah, right.
I think he was on the last plane trip. Last plane trip with a propellered plane.
Yeah, right.
It was like, and they had to stop like 6 times.
Stop in Mauritius. Yeah.
And then he went to Elizabeth in South Australia.
Yeah.
Which is
that was the same path Barnsey and that lot went to.
He went to school with Barnsey and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, right.
And your old man was
AC/DC too.
He ended up working in the industry too, right?
He did, yeah. He was a roadie, a lighting engineer, and he did like Cold Chisel and In Excess and Neil Young and
that was a good time for a lot of for those Adelaide kids, wasn't it? Like they really put the place on the map before the Hilltops, of course. Yeah, that Chisel kind of thing. There was a heap of stuff coming out of there.
Huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like at the time they were kind of like, you know, Chisel were like the biggest band in the country. Well, like, you know, yeah, and just selling out everywhere in Australia, just like insane.
Would you ever go solo, or is it more producer?
Well, my voice kind of stinks.
Yeah, right.
It's all right. Like, I've actually done a track recently. It kind of works if I sing in like a punky way, like almost screaming over like, which I've been mucking around with over like more techno kind of dance music, and just like, yeah, I want to go, like, it works in that, right? But the thing is when I met Tommy, it's amazing as a songwriter, and Mason and I talk about this all the time. It's amazing for us as songwriters to give a song you've written, and Tommy's an amazing songwriter in his own right. Like some of the melodies he writes are just incredible. Yeah, you know. But to have one of your songs sung by him, it sounds better than your song you ever could have imagined your song sounding, which is incredible.
Well, that's part of being in a band, right? It's just everyone's doing their job. Yeah,
and a lot of people find it hard to give that away.
Yeah, right.
You know, it's a really personal thing for them, and each to their own on that. But for me, it's like I'm the opposite. You know, I can sing, but it's definitely not my thing. I learned how to sing when I was younger, just purely to communicate with other musicians on ideas. But it was never something I wanted to focus on. But like I said, and then you get Tommy to sing one of your songs, and it's like, it can resonate with people on just a whole nother level. A lot of listeners, you know, people who aren't sort of involved with music or whatever, and or just love it in a whole different way, but aren't, you know, musicians or something like that. Having a voice like that, communicating your song, if they heard me sing it, it would not have the same meaning. Yeah. But all of a sudden, like, you know, you have a voice like that, sing it, and it's like, just can become the soundtrack of their life.
Yeah. You find some of those songs penetrate like that. You find some people that are like, well, now I'm obsessed with the DMAs for the rest of my life. Do you find those kind of people out on the road? Not the stalkers, but the fans.
Well, we I guess that those early days of touring. Yeah. And we went to just all these tiny towns in UK that we'd never heard of, particularly, has really built us up a really loyal fan base over there. But yeah, if they heard me singing in the air, it wouldn't be as beautiful. I don't think they'd like it as much.
Yeah.
If this Corona lockdown keeps on going, would this be the longest time you've spent off the road since basically to 2014?
100%. Yeah, it feels kind of weird actually. I think to be honest, I think we needed to stop, even though, like, if Corona didn't happen,
your label wanted you to keep moving.
Well, yeah.
Back to England, boys.
Yeah. It's all good. Just wear masks.
Yeah.
This time we're flying business class, so it's all good.
The thing is, you kind of if you wanna keep moving as a band like that, and you're driven in that way, you kind of have to keep backing it.
Yeah.
And also, people's attention span with social media is so short these days. I know mine is. Like, I'm just like, you know, you kind of got to keep reminding people that you're around and you're doing stuff and playing gigs and all that kind of thing, you know. And it's a part of it. But you know what? You hear lots of people talking about, you know, it's great that conversations like mental health and whatever are so much more common these days because that level of touring and being away from people, it's actually... It's insane.
Can do yeah.
Yeah, especially when you're being given 3 cases of beer and 4 bottles of wine and 2 bottles of vodka every night.
Well, it's the only industry where you're expected to be drunk on the job. And in fact, it's preferred by the venue that you are.
But these days, once again, with the conversation of it, there's so many more musicians who don't drink anymore and don't feel the need that they, you know, because I guess like. Back in the day, it was like, well, how am I going to get up on stage in front of 5,000 people without a couple of drinks under my belt, you know? But I guess, once again, even just talking about it has kind of killed that stigma a little bit. Not stigma, that, you know. Yeah.
And also, back in the day, the big thing, you know, the money for nothing kind of attitude, the Dire Straits attitude, a lot of that was focused around the fact that these young blokes were making more money than they ever could have. But nowadays... Yeah, like coal miners make more money than musicians a lot of the time, and they party harder. That's for sure. Footballers, you know, they're the ones who they are. Yeah, so you guys have got a job, and that's kind of how it's more being viewed nowadays.
Yeah,
as opposed to a lifestyle.
Yeah, exactly. But I tell you what, after playing an electrifying gig, it's pretty hard not to want to party.
Yeah.
Or decompress in some kind of way.
Or after a shit gig. To drown the sorrows a little,
I'm lucky because even when I forget chords, my hand just goes into goes to the next chord anyway. Just muscle memory.
Oh, right.
I'm like, sometimes I've had a mind block, but and then my hand just goes, oh, that was sweet.
Thinking about old Simpsons episodes up there, just playing it naturally.
Yeah. Well, that's why we've got a joke there, like our drummer Leesbo's just like listening to like podcasts and shit during the gig. Those idiots, they're not even plugged into like the fallbacks.
Yeah. What do you think was the most electrifying gig so far? I'm sure there's been plenty.
There's been a bunch. Like Splendor 2 years ago, we had our like first kind of sunset slot.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And we played that Believe cover, which we've only played 2 or 3 times.
Yep.
That was kind of like, 30,000 people in that amphitheater.
Yeah,
Splendors actually was meant to be this weekend, actually.
Yeah.
And that was insane.
Yeah.
And then also, I guess that last one at the Brixton Academy, because that venue, it's a bit of a bucket list thing. It's like 5,000 people, London.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the Enmore, but
they're all on top of each
like the
other
Forum,
too.
but
It's like
5,000.
Yeah.
You get vertigo and stuff when you're in there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Sunset is an interesting one. I remember hearing CM Murphy, who was the manager of NXS, talking about it, and he reckons that's what put them on the map, was that sunset at Wembley. Because it's the energy changes. People are officially, it's been a lazy day at a festival, sitting on the grass listening to Wolfmother, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, now there's a rock band on stage.
Yeah. And also, one thing I learned from that, it's like when the sun goes down, you can have a light show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Which pushes everything to the next level.
Yeah.
Especially when people are getting a bit blurry and the lights start flashing. And
confetti, holy shit.
Yeah. Well, and that's another reason why we wanted to move more into like, I guess like the dancier and have a few tunes like, so basically, our set we could become more 3-dimensional. We got the rock and roll tunes, we've got some acoustic driven sing-alongs or whatever, but having a few dance tunes in the set is like, and we got to play them. We played Life is a Game of Changing and stuff, and there's a new song, Cobra Cane Off the Globe, which I can't wait to do live. It's a bit like this darker kind of ravier kind of vibe, and to play that, just make the outro go for like 3 or 4 minutes or something like that, and like with the lights flashing, it's like it's definitely a big part of it.
Have you thought a little bit more about the sound you're making now? Do you feel like that is for the same audience, or do you reckon this is going to kind of translate into other kind of like have they seen this kind of stuff before in America, for example, and has your stuff translated in America?
I reckon there's a few tunes, like we're already seeing like stuff popping up on Twitter and more love from like America and North America. North America in general, Canada and stuff. Which is cool because we haven't been back there since our first EP. Like incorporating these other elements to the band and to the music is, I don't think we're going to lose our old school DMA's fans, but we can definitely make it more accessible to other people who maybe wouldn't have just jumped onto the band at first.
Cast a wider net.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny because, you can have songs like, off the new record, that people discover it and realize they like it, and then I know I've done it with bands heaps of times. You just hear one song and that's enough for you to go back and I think our first album just went back into the top 100 of the iTunes charts or something like that, just because of this record coming out. And people totally do
and everyone
that.
Goes back.
Throwback.
I remember doing that with the War on Drugs when I first heard them, just going all the way back to
Or just like anyone who discovers Bruce, it's like, ooh,
well,
1979, the river.
Totally.
He kind of loses me in the 80s for a bit, but he comes back in the 90s with a vengeance, doesn't he?
For sure. I was bruised and battered, I didn't care. Maybe we should do a little. We'll do a little thing a bit later. We'll get the guitar out.
As long as it's Bruce.
Yeah.
Nebraska.
Nebraska. Good album. No, The Wrestler. The Wrestler was his most recent one. He did the soundtrack for that Mickey Rourke film.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
It was good.
There's a question we often ask people. Do you have any surprise fan bases? Because obviously the funniest one is the way Chile has responded to Sticky Fingers. and how they just can't leave them. Come to Chile, come to Chile, come. And then eventually
they go to Chile. It's like, come back to Chile.
yeah. They did it for the fuck of it. Oh, we're not getting many gigs here. We'll go to Chile, right? And that's their audience. Silverchair had a similar thing in Argentina. Like, have you found any surprise audiences?
Oh, yeah. Let me think. I think, like, I guess Holland has been one.
Yeah.
The Dutch have a pretty quirky, like, taste and stuff. We've done some weird interviews. You know, like, what does DMA stand for? Like, dolls' massive asses. And we're like, what? Like, with this weird sense of humor. I don't know.
Yeah, you got us.
Yeah. Oh, actually, one time, at one of those Dutch Dutch interviews, we were like, we love a corny kind of 90s, early 2000s cover, and we did a cover of Atomic Kitten's
Titus High.
No, what was the other one? Looking back on when we first met.
Yeah. That'd be a good one by you guys.
Yeah. It's somewhere on YouTube.
You're the one.
Yeah. You make me whole again.
Whole again.
You
there
make
we
me
go.
whole again.
Yeah. And actually, I'd like to do that cover again. Actually, that's probably one of my favorite. Anyway, so we're playing it, and they've got these screens there, and basically, they're like, we're getting feedback. Like, people are tweeting, and they've got these big screen there, and they're like, people are like, what the hell is this? You know, like, this corny pop song, like, you know, you're like, Jesus, and they're like so this is heartbreaking stuff, and like, I've still got the verse 2 and the chorus to go. You know?
That could. You guys could just keep baiting them. Up next, we've got a bit of Aqua.
Yeah. Well, we've done Aqua as well.
If only I could turn back.
That's right.
Barbie Girl, fuck it, give me Barbie Girl. Anyway, so you're ready to put in probably some bigger hours than most musicians in the country now. You've got the backing. You've done a bit of a media run. You were on the Footy Show, not the Footy Show, the Matty John Show, and all over the show.
The Real Footy Show.
Yeah, the Real Footy Show, and that's. It seems like the label's gassing this one up. They reckon, you felt the full warm hug of the your corporate employers.
Well, I guess that's what you got to do. When you spend that much money on a shit hot producer.
Yeah.
But also, like,
they must back the product.
I think the thing is as well is, we've been a band for a while, and it's like, it takes a while to build up, that audience and all that stuff, and I guess this sound as well now it's definitely the most accessible sound. So they thought, why not? Let's go for it.
Yeah. You must have been lucky as well throughout this whole journey, having a dad that's been a roadie, and done all that kind of stuff, and can call people, other bands that he's kind of toured with. Has that kind of helped? Because we interviewed those 5 Seconds of Summer kids, and I got to tell you, no one has signed a worse fucking deal than them.
They were the definition of the most burnt out looking human beings.
And they're only like 23, and we don't know how much money they're making. I don't think they know how much money they're making, because I guess we're more of a product, you know what I mean?
There was one guy from that band who was like, man, as long as I get out of this and I've got enough to buy my mum a home, I'll be happy. It's like, what fucking deal are you on? How many fucking records have you sold? How many shows have you done?
Well, they just sold out Wembley the week before he said that. And he's like, I just want to buy my mum a home. I was like, what? On paper, it looks like you should have bought her by 10 by now.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work out that way for them. And maybe they're about to change. Maybe they have an opportunity. It was a 4-album deal, they were saying, but that must have helped too, having a dad that was wise to the tricks in the industry.
Well, yeah. It was. He was great for, like, just kind of. He had a huge CD collection, got me into guitar and all that kind of stuff. But he never, like, he was never, calling people up, trying to, it was important for him that we had to work hard and find our own way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And which is cool now, because people, other musicians call him up now, going, "Hey, I see Johnny's doing well," and all that kind of stuff, which is probably nicer.
He wasn't telling you to tell Gudinski, go get fucked.
I'm pretty sure him and Gudinski had a fight back in the 70s. but now we're on the same team. Now we're all best mates.
It's in their best interest that they get along.
With Gudinski in
Gudinski.
the 70s. He fought everyone in the 70s.
Gudinski, and the same old people are still involved though, aren't they? So
Yeah, and we love Gudinski, man.
Yeah,
He's been
Yeah.
he's backed us since the start, and it's cool now that there's more momentum happening. You know,
yeah, for sure.
It's
Well,
good man.
it's
Loves a beer.
Yeah?
In the morning. Good man.
in the car, in the boat. Yeah, thanks for joining us, Johnny. It looks like an exciting year, busy year for you, and hopefully more bands can get out on the road soon.
So your shows start in Sydney on the 30th?
that's right. And then we're going to be up here in Brisbane
Yep.
for 4 shows. We're going to play the Tivoli,
Yep.
which is bigger than the Factory.
Yeah, right.
So I think we can get 230
Yeah.
people in there, which is cool. And I love that venue.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful venue.
Up on the hill.
I went and saw the footy show there. Back when Chief was there, I went back, so right in the RNA Showgrounds. It's a good venue.
Does that bring back the Biffy?
Oh yeah, Reg, all that. Mario Falcon.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Falcon, it's great to have another Maltese Falcon on the podcast. Thank you for joining.
Actually, you're talking about passports before and like Brexit happening. I was like, well, there goes my European, leeway. But I think I found out I can get my Maltese passport
for
now.
sure.
Yeah.
Because my brother's getting it, and once one sibling gets it,
Yeah,
I
right.
think it's a bit easier for everyone else.
Guess what you don't have to do in Malta if you don't want to? Pay tax.
Oh, good to know.
Yeah.
Maybe I can make some money out of music.
Well, hopefully, the tour works out well for you, and I'm sure everyone's going to be turning out either way because everyone's dying to see a gig.
Awesome, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Johnny.